To say that retro nostalgia is alive and well would be a bit of an understatement. A lot of retro games are starting to come back, and a lot of these are coming to us with plug-and-play systems. You've seen things, of course, like the NES Classic, the SNES Classic, hell, even Neo Geo got into the mix. You have the upcoming Sega Genesis Mini, which I'm admittedly very stoked about as a Sega fanboy, and you even had the PlayStation Classic. Well, let's not really talk about the PlayStation Classic, but most of these systems have been pretty decent plug-and-play systems. But now you're starting to see arcade stuff get into the mix. Of course, you have companies like Arcade 1UP, which have been somewhat successful releasing a launch library of different systems. I picked up the Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet that they came out with, and honestly, I still enjoy it. I got it when it first came out. I play it pretty much every week, just having some fun with it, and it's been a really fun system. It was very easy to assemble as well, something that I've really enjoyed. But now Capcom themselves seems to be getting into the plug-and-play market as well. They have announced the Capcom Home Arcade, which is a plug-and-play arcade console that has 16 classic Capcom games built into it, and there's some things I like about it. I'm not going to be a total negative Nancy about this product, because obviously I do like plug-and-play systems, but there's definitely some things I don't like about this console. So I basically want to talk about it, tell you guys what the games are coming to it, tell you guys the features of this system, and maybe you'll be interested in it. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the Capcom Home Arcade, what I like about it, and what I don't.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So yesterday, Capcom teased on social media that they were going to have a big announcement, and they did this little sizzle reel showcasing some of their classic arcade games, and people were kind of wondering what this actually was going to be. Was it going to be a simple compilation of arcade games coming to us from home consoles? Of course, Capcom has done things like this with the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, the Capcom Beat 'em Ups bundle, so it wasn't outside the realm of possibility. But then Nintendo Life went on record as saying that they had heard that this was going to be a plug-and-play arcade console for your home designed by Capcom themselves. And they said that some of the games on there were going to be kind of interesting, so a lot of people were wondering what this was going to be. Well, this morning Capcom officially unveiled the Capcom Home Arcade, which is a Capcom plug-and-play arcade system that has 16 built-in games plus some additional features into it as well. And first and foremost, let's just talk about the design of this, because I don't know, man, it's kind of ugly. And obviously, when you're talking about playing games, the way a system looks doesn't really matter, but the fact that this is what the actual unit is, it just leaves a lot to be desired in my opinion. First off, we have to talk about the design of it. It obviously has the big Capcom logo on there, and I'm just kind of like, why? Like, yes, I get that this is a Capcom plug and play and you're going to want to have your branding on there, but I think it would have looked a lot better if you did some of the characters that are going to be in the system. Of course, you have so many different characters from the games that you're choosing from. If you would have done a design like that, I think it would have looked a lot better. One thing I really don't like about this is the clear buttons. Yes, folks, there are buttons on this system, but it's so damn hard to see them because they are clear. And I'm like, why would you do clear buttons? Have you ever seen an arcade unit that had clear buttons? Like, no, it doesn't remind you of the arcades. It doesn't remind you of anything like that. So to have a clear buttons and a lot of white space on this system really is just very stupid to me, in my opinion. I think they could have done a lot better with the design of this. And another worry that I have with this system is just the weight of it. They talked about some of the specs, the tech specs, as far as how long the system was going to be, how tall the system was going to be, but how much does it weigh? Like, that's sort of important, especially since this has 2 arcade slots on it, so you'll be playing multiplayer games on this. Can I simply set it up on a table in front of me? Can I simply set it up on the floor in front of me? Or do I need something to hold it down? I don't know. I have a lot of questions about it, and I think it leaves a bad first impression with a lot of people as far as the design of this system. Of course, this system is going to be using CPS1 and CPS2 emulation, which is what these arcade games were built on to be used in the arcade. So that's cool. Obviously, Capcom knows their own emulation. I'm sure they're not going to screw that up. So that's a positive thing. Now, something that I do like about this is that this does have Sanwa sticks on it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an arcade connoisseur and I only play Sanwa sticks, but I do know that Sanwa sticks are assimilated with quality when it comes to build products. So Sanwa sticks are very very good. Obviously, you're going to want to have good control over these arcade games, so that's a positive thing in my opinion. At least they're doing sandwich sticks on this, but just I can't get over the buttons, man. They're clear buttons. Why are they clear? No, it's stupid. It's stupid. But of course, we have to talk about the games on this system. This system will be coming to us with 16 pre-installed games, which admittedly, it's a little bit on the low side. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think they could have done a lot more with the game library, but the games that are on here do seem to be pretty good. So let's go over the game library. So the game library is as follows. We have 1944, which is a classic shmup game. You have Alien vs. Predator, which this is the first time this has been re-released. So honestly, that's a big deal. This is a classic Capcom beat 'em up game. I really enjoyed Alien vs. Predator. It never got an official home release either. So this is a great game to have on this compilation, and I think will actually be a somewhat selling point to get people invested into this system. You also have Armored Warriors. You have Capcom Sports Club. You have Captain Commando, Cyberbots Full Metal Madness. You have Darkstalkers, the Night Warriors. That's another game that I'm really glad to see on here. Darkstalkers is kind of a forgotten Capcom fighting franchise. It was pretty popular back in the 90s. I remember a lot of people thought that Darkstalkers was going to be the next big thing in the fighting game realm. But for whatever reason, Darkstalkers has just sort of been forgotten about over the years. So it's definitely cool to see Darkstalkers on there. I think that's another huge plus for this system. You have Eco Fighters. You have Final Fight, which of course is the classic Capcom beat 'em up. You have Ghouls and Ghosts. You have Giga Wing. You have Mega Man the Power Battle. That's a game you don't see very often either. You have Pro Gear. You have Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. You have Strider, and you have Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. So honestly, that's a pretty decent library of games. You have classic stuff like Ghouls and Ghosts, Final Fight. You then have games like Alien vs. Predator, which we have not seen get an official release on any sort of platform ever since the arcade version. You have Darkstalkers, and of course you have Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. So a decent library of games. I'm surprised that there's not more fighting games on here though. One version of Street Fighter 2 just seems kind of weird to me. I guess if that's the one version that you wanted to do, like that's fine, but why no other Street Fighters? Like there's so many different Street Fighters. You could have done something like Street Fighter Alpha on here as well. I don't know. It's just definitely kind of weird to me that there's only one version of Street Fighter on here, and I prefer Championship Edition a little bit over Hyper Fighting. I know. It's not really that big of a deal, but I would have liked to have seen at least one more Street Fighter game. Obviously, probably not something in Street Fighter 2, but with games like Alpha, like I feel like you could have done at least one more, and it would have been decent. But 16 games, I don't know. It really just sort of depends on what you think about these games. If you have fond memories of these games or you like these games, then this library is pretty good. Honestly, something like Alien vs. Predator and Darkstalkers is a pretty big deal to me. Now, as far as when this system is releasing, this system has been confirmed to be coming out on October 25th of this year. So obviously this is going to be a somewhat big holiday item for Capcom. They're going to be pushing it a lot, but I'm kind of interested to see how this also plays into the Arcade 1-Up stuff, because obviously Arcade 1-Up has a working relationship with Capcom. There is the Final Fight arcade cabinet that is coming out as well from Capcom and Arcade 1-Up, so kind of interested to see what ends up happening with that. Now, as far as additional features are concerned with this, it does have a Wi-Fi system built into it that accesses a worldwide online leaderboard system, so that's pretty cool. You can share your high scores with different people. You know, that's definitely one of the reasons that people did a lot of arcade stuff, was of course to get high scores. It is kind of weird that there is no online multiplayer built into this. You can't play with people over the Wi-Fi connection. You can only play local multiplayer, so kind of a bit of a missed opportunity. Obviously, some games will kind of be reliant on being able to communicate with the person, but just hopping in and out of a fighting game, you know, I don't necessarily think you need to have voice chat with something like that. You could definitely play a fighting game without voice chat, play it online, and still have some fun. So overall, the Capcom Home Arcade is interesting, I feel. It's definitely something that I will be buying. I mean, let's be honest, I buy this sort of crap all the time because I like these sort of plug-and-play systems, and I like to be reviewing these systems. There is no price point for this system, but it has been rumored to be around $200, which is a lot of money for this, and I think a lot of this just comes down to the build quality of this system. I think that that's sort of dependent on whether or not this is going to be a no-brainer for Capcom fans, especially Capcom arcade fans. If it has a good build quality, obviously using sandwich sticks is a big deal, but really it just depends on how good this is built. Is it going to move around? Is it going to shift while I'm playing it? Is there going to be a weight to it? And why the hell does it have clear buttons? I still can't get over the stupid clear buttons on this thing. But honestly, it'll be a nice little holiday item. Of course, we're going to review it on the channel. So if you're sort of on the fence about this, then of course, just wait for the review when the system comes out in October, because we're going to cover it. I'm a sucker for this kind of shit. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the Capcom Home Arcade. Do you feel that they could have done a bit more with it? Do you think the design of it is ugly like I do? And what do you think of the game library? Do you think they could have done more games with it? Do you feel like some games are omitted from this that would have been a better purchase for you guys? And of course, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel. Like I said, be sure to check out my arcade 1-up videos as well, talking about the Street Fighter arcade cabinets. I did a review when it first came out, and then I did a follow-up 3 months later to see how it was holding up, and honestly, it's holding up pretty good. I'm definitely looking forward to the next batch of stuff. And as always, guys, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.